Busy times in the world of weather, and I am certainly working very hard to keep us all up to date with regards to the interesting, well, it depends what way you look at it, of course, interesting weather going on around both locally as well as global. Very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It is the second video of the day. Back just after 5 a.m. this morning, I recorded a tropical update looking specifically at the latest with Hurricane Beryl. Looks as if it peaked in intensity over the eastern portion of the Caribbean as a 165 mile per hour Category 5 hurricane. So check that video out if you're interested in the latest with regards to Beryl and the prospects going forward. So before we continue with the video, be sure to hit that like button, share with your friends and family, and subscribe. Like I say, working very, very hard here. I do work full time as a lorry driver, night shift, but in the afternoons, first thing in the morning, coming back from work, I'm trying to deliver as best and unique, unbiased, unhyped content here on markvoganweather.com on YouTube. This was a visible satellite image here, a close up of the eye wall, or the eye, should I say, of monster, at this stage, Category 4 Hurricane Beryl. And there's a couple of very, very standout, kind of haunting aspects to this image. You can see here on the left hand side, just to the western side, this is essentially where the islands of Curacao and Martinique was in the western eye wall when this image was captured. But if you look closely at the image itself, through the eye itself, you can actually see waves on the ocean floor. And it just really emphasizes how incredible our technology has become when it comes to tracking weather and all the tools that we have at our disposal now. It really is an amazing time to follow meteorology and weather events that take place around the world. And this image really is quite stunning in many different ways. Now, to put this in perspective, this was the scene that we had on the ground within the eye wall itself on Curacao Island, which is part of Grenada. And you can see buildings getting ripped up, major damage. And then once the eye wall itself roar through, then we had obviously a scene of devastation afterwards. And there is now images coming out of St. Vincent, the Grenadines, and Grenada, including Curacao Island, in terms of the damage that has been left behind. And I just need to try and find the image of some drone footage that has been captured over the islands in the wake of this system. And unfortunately, for some reason, it just always seems to happen where I'll lose an image. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually try and do another tropical update, whether it be early hours of tomorrow morning or maybe tomorrow afternoon. We will look at some of the devastation that has been caused by Beryl as it became a high-end Category 4, moving through the lower portion of the Lesser Antilles. Now it's moving westwards. Check out the Tropical Outlook if you want to know where it's headed for next. It looks as if eventually it will be parts of Jamaica, Yucatan Peninsula, possibly Belize, into the northwestern or southwestern portions of the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll need to keep an eye on this very, very carefully as we go through the next several days here. I also wanted to point out a couple of interesting aspects. This is the latest with regards to the Mount-Julian oscillation. Now, this kind of goes to show how difficult now this time of the year can be in terms of forecasting an upper air setup here, we have very, very little in the way of guidance, whether it be from the MJO, whether it be from developing La Nina, the NAO, the AO as well. It doesn't necessarily always correlate to a particular setup. It becomes harder to follow certain teleconnections at this time of the year to depict a type of pattern going forward. But there's some very, very interesting things now starting to show up in terms of the overall setup as we go through the month of July. The MJO is firmly in phases 2 and 3. Now, what is interesting about this is the fact that we're seeing the monsoon now spread. It has spread all the way up through India and is actually slightly ahead of schedule. Now, typically, the monsoon doesn't reach the entire country from south to north over India until, on average, the 8th of July. So it's actually slightly ahead of schedule. But what is helping drive this push of monsoon, cloud, moisture, wind is actually the MJO being in phases 2 and 3. We've got an active phase in the Indian Ocean at the moment here, and therefore that is helping drive the slightly early onset of the Indian monsoon. The latest run of the GFS indicates this is how the Arctic Oscillation is looking like. So it looks as if we're heading down towards we're in firm positive, it's heading down towards neutral, and then it's going back positive once again as we progress through the first half of July. With regards to the North Atlantic Oscillation, it's in firm positive territory at the moment here, and we do have a very, very dominant westerly flow. Strong high pressure to the south, strong low pressure to the north, hence why we're in a strong positive NAO signal at the moment here. But this is the interesting aspect, in my opinion. If we look at this particular tweet right here, and you can see here, first and foremost, this is a tweet here that was published a couple of hours ago by Dan Harris, showing that June 2024, the UK mean temperature was 12.9 Celsius, which was 0.2 Celsius below May's record that was set initially back in since 1887, sorry, with a mean temperature of 13.1. So June's mean temperature was 12.9, May's was 13.1. This is the first time in the record where June was actually cooler than the month of May. June CET was only 0.1 below May's since 1659. This has only happened two other times, 1749 and 1833. So a very, very unique thing has just taken place where we're just seen a record-breaking warm May, and now we're seeing a below average June, and the actual mean temperature being cooler in June than it was in May. That just does not happen very often. Also, I want to show you here. This was, by the way, I thought I actually seen something there that caught my attention. So this, going back to the monsoon, this is a tweet here by Gokul. I think that's his pronunciation. The southwest monsoon covered the entire Indian subcontinent on the 2nd of July. The entire nation is under the sway of monsoon southwesterlies at the lower tropospheric level. Active monsoon trough will lead to persistent rainfall along the Gangetic plains, and obviously it is now encompassing the entire Indian subcontinent here. So that's obviously been helped by the active phase 2 and 3 of the MJO here. You can see another tweet here by Jason Nichols saying that the southwest monsoon has cleared all of India as of the 2nd against the normal date of the 8th of July here. So I want to show you this here. So going back to what I just mentioned there about June being cooler than May, and it doesn't happen very often. This is the UK and Ireland for the month of June in terms of the temperature anomaly. Remember, it was 0.4 below the average for June. This is the beginning of July, firmly below average. Cool west to northwesterly flow, plenty of outbreaks of rain, frontal systems riding that brisk westerly flow. This is the next 35 days according to the GFS Extended Ensemble, which takes us, by the way, to the 5th of August. If this was to be remotely true, given what we've seen in the month of June, then August would have to be a pretty warm month to see the UK and Ireland have a warmer than average summer. Remember, I have forecasted a warmer than average summer. It's slightly wet than average as well. But if this holds true, that would be probably one of the cooler summers in quite some time. Let me know in the comments section below when the last time we had that a cooler than average summer overall. But certainly this would be going against what a lot of people would would have thought this warming trend that we've seen over recent times will just continue to drive home. Not necessarily the case. And it just goes to show this is the opening of July across the planet here. Plenty of areas of cooler than average, including parts of Australia, India, eastern China, much of Kazakhstan, into the Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, etc., etc. We've got a very distinct east to west split over Europe, cool in the west, hot in the east. Africa is a bit of a mixed bag as well. Very, very cool start to July over the eastern side of the United States, with the exceptions of the deep south and the southern plains here. And the UK and Ireland here overall is looking like this here. So a very distinct east to west contrast in terms of temperature anomaly. In terms of satellite imagery here, it's a very, very cloudy picture. We've got heavy rain moving in from the west here, strong high pressure to the south, strong low pressure to the north. We've got a very, very flat zonal flow at the moment here. This is reflected in the temperatures here. This is the current temperatures as of the back of 4 in the afternoon, July 2nd, and certainly is feeling rather chilly out there. Look at that there. Temperatures at Loch Liscarnock only 10.5 with a wind chill of 7.7. Even down across the south, remember London, the average temperature in July is 24 Celsius. There is parts of this area. Look at Biggin Hill. I know it's 183 metres above sea level, but it's only recording 13 Celsius this afternoon. We do have a couple of 20s, or 120 that I can see here, and that is Pershore, and it's only 19.4 Celsius at the moment here. So Ireland, we've got the mid-teens, possibly upper teens in a few spots. So including Cork, we've only got 17 at the moment here. Looks as if Kerry Airport is 17. So yeah, this could be a very, very interesting overall July. I know for heat lovers, you're not wanting to see this, but we'll have to look at the big picture. We'll have to look at the all aspects. So this is Europe. Current temperatures, mid-30s across the south of Spain. You would expect to see that at this time of the year. Look at the fresh air driving south eastwards across the continent. Plenty of rain, more flash flooding in parts of Switzerland, Germany. Remember, we've seen the scenes the other night there in the Germany-Denmark game. Suspended play because of lightning, hail, heavy rainfall, and the heat is really confined to the far east and southeast of the continent here. So, very fascinating stuff in my opinion. Let's look at the radar. Current radar over the UK and Ireland looks like this here. So we've got that band of heavy rain associated with the latest frontal system riding that westerly flow, driving that moisture in across the northern UK. We've got a few showers to speak about across the far southeast. Largely high and dry across the bulk of England and Wales, if you notice here. Some shower activity over parts of Northern Ireland. A few moving into the west of Ireland here. And let's look at the precipitation between now and Friday the 12th of July. You can see here, this total accumulated precipitation chart really says it all. Wettest conditions in the west facing areas of both Ireland and Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. That means we're going to continue to see a west and northwesterly flow, by the way, all the way out to the middle portions of the month. Heavy moisture over the Alpine region at the moment as well, and through over the next 10 days or so. Let's look at the overview chart. In fact, before we look at the overview chart, let's have a look at the 850s and see what the model's showing here with regards to the air mass. The 850 temperature profile is always a good barometer as to what type of air mass we're dealing with. So this is the here and now. westerly flow, cooler in the 5,000 foot level at the moment. Plenty of warmth across the mid-Atlantic, plenty of cool across the north. That's driving a stronger than average jet stream directly into the UK and Ireland here. Any heat to speak about far south of Spain and Portugal, and really largely confined to South Italy, the Balkans, Greece, Turkey, up the eastern side of the continent. Play through the loop over the next several days. Continue with that flat flow, strong ridge of high pressure over the central North Atlantic, strong low over our near Iceland, and we've got that contrast in air mass driving a stronger than average July jet stream, as already mentioned. And then as we play right the way through into the weekend, we're not seeing that warm air coming north here. It continues to get pushed, suppressed to the south here. And then we're picking up a northwesterly flow. This is during the course of the weekend. Cold or cool air getting driven into the northwest of Europe. Warmer then as you push cooler south, you're driving warmer out of Africa, out of the Mediterranean, up the eastern side of the continent here. So the general flavour is the same. And that was mentioned in yesterday's discussion with regards to the July outlook, what was seen in June. Remember the position of the ridge trough pattern, strong ridge of high pressure anchored over the central North Atlantic. We had that cool west and northwesterly flow dominating the majority of June, and it looks as if we're going to see a repeat of that during the month of July. My hunch still is that we will see a warm threat, a surge of heat trying to come northwards towards the middle portion of the month, if not the second half of the month. I don't think we're going to maintain this right the way through July, but listen, you never know. Did we know that June was going to turn out to be the way it was? It was forecasted to an extent, but there was aspects of it that did surprise, and there always is aspects where the pattern and weather surprises us. No matter how good of a forecaster or how bad of a forecaster you are, there is always elements of surprise here. This is what I'm talking about. Wednesday, the 10th of July. This is obviously the ECMWF, one model run of hundreds of model runs. This is one solution. Area of low pressure winds up, moves in from a southwesterly direction. Your hunch would be that there would be some sort of a pull of warm air over the central med, over central Europe, that as this positioning of this wheel in the atmosphere will try to tug some of this warmth and lift it northwards here. So we need to keep an eye on that and see whether there's a possibility of some sort of heat trying to lift north if this scenario was to come off. So we'll need to keep an eye on that. But you notice as we continue to play through right to the end, you notice we are flirting with the 15 Celsius isotherm over the Low Countries, not that far from the southeast of the UK as well. So we'll need to monitor that one going forward. Finally, look at the overview chart here. Go back to the here and now. Strong, stretched out 1033 millibar high over the central North Atlantic. Low pressure to the north, westerly winds in between, and we've got one system after another moving along that flow and continuing to drive cloud, outbreaks of rain, showers, breezy conditions and downright cool conditions for the time of the year. And we continue to see that as we move right the way through the end of the week, into the weekend. Then we've got a northwesterly flow, again unstable, cool, showery, disappointing for the time of the year. This is obviously, bearing in mind, we're going to the end of week 1 of July. Continue to play through the loop, and there's that feature then turning and lifting northwards to the west of the British Isles. If that stays slightly to the west, we may flirt with something warmer coming in on the eastern side of this circulation, but we'll need to monitor this going forward here. But certainly some very, very interesting things going on at the moment with regards to the weather. The cool theme maintains itself in the west. The warm theme continues to drive home in the east, where we've got the driest conditions, we've got drought conditions continuing to worsen over Western Europe, etc., etc. We're talking about major Category 5 Hurricane Beryl. It looks as if it's going to start to weaken now. It's actually started to weaken over the last hour or so here, and hopefully that is the beginning of a more significant weakening trend of Beryl. We will do an update, like I say, hopefully tomorrow morning, if not tomorrow afternoon, on the latest on Beryl. Also going to look at some of the footage, the drone footage of some of the hardest hit areas in the Caribbean as well. So obviously our thoughts and our prayers are with the folks in this part of the world at the moment here going forward. Let's have a quick look actually. Let me just briefly have a look at the ECMWF weeklies for the next. Let's have a look and see what the next 30 days is looking like in terms of temperature anomaly. So this is, I showed you the GFS extended. This is the ECMWF. So again, it's maintaining this cool theme between now and the 31st of July. Looking at the, let's look at the, let's see, CMC extended, upcoming 30-day period, below average. So there is pretty much cross-model agreement that July is looking below average in terms of temperature anomaly. So yeah, what do you think? Let me know in the comments section below. Are you enjoying the cool? Are you gutted that it isn't warmer than it is? Like I say, let me know in the comments section below. This is week 1, by the way, of the GFS extended. So warmer across parts of Iberia, eastern portions of Europe. But that is a cool anomaly. Look at that there. Over eastern France, central areas of Europe here. Let's look at the 7 to 14 day and see what it's showing. Below average. This takes out to the 15th of July. Let's continue to look forward at the 14 to 21. Average to below average. That's out to Monday the 22nd of July. So yeah, cool June, cool July, cool summer overall. We'll wait and see what happens. I'll see you again hopefully tomorrow with more. Like and subscribe. I do greatly appreciate it. Bye for now.